Hello, welcome to another episode of Messy Magic. I'm your host Nadee Guy, and I'm so very happy to be recording this episode because I gotta be honest, I've been overthinking it. I've been wanting to do another episode. It's been a few weeks, if you haven't noticed, or if this is your first time here, welcome. Since I recorded and published an episode, and I have this tendency, despite being an embodiment coach, to get in my head about certain things, and I allowed that to happen. I allowed other things to take priority over recording this podcast, and so that's why I'm really happy to be recording it. I have put a little bit of preparation into it, but I also didn't want to allow the pre-preparing and the getting ready to get in the way of me recording this episode. So in the theme of messy magic, I'm moving forward with the messiness that I am, and also acknowledging the prep that I have done. So I'm also telling you up front that I'm recording this in my car today. I wanted a quiet space and where I wouldn't be interrupted, and so I hope the audio turns out okay. But yeah, that's a first for me. And so today, I'm just happy to be back with you. But secondly, I want to continue on this journey that I started a couple of months ago, exploring the crossover between embodiment work and business. And this is feeling more and more aligned for me in my work, in my body of work, and in my mission. It's just feeling more and more aligned. And so for the next couple of episodes, I want to explore the dynamics of masculine and feminine in business, and why that might be something that we want to think about, and how to balance them if we decide that that's something that we want. And so before I kind of get into the main part of the episode, I guess, this might be something that you want to think about. If you feel like you're not getting the results that you want in your business, if you feel like something is out of alignment, something's not feeling quite right, you're not happy in your business, you might want to explore this if you're feeling as though you are serving your business, or that you're in service to it rather than it being a balanced relationship, or if you're feeling depleted around work and business. And so where I'm talking about feminine and masculine energies, and I've said this on the podcast before, but I think it's worth repeating over and over, is that feminine and masculine is not about gender at all. Every human body has access to feminine energy and masculine energy, and beyond that, it's not just humans, it's everything in the universe. And there are so many traditions, and I'm not qualified to talk about the traditions and the history of the study of feminine and masculine energy, but just to conceptualize what I'm talking about, it's the yin and the yang, it's the hard and the soft, the dark and the light. And so where I'm talking about this today is within the scope of my own experience and knowledge that I've picked up through my learnings, not as an expert in energy by any means. So do apply your own frame of reference to what I'm talking about. So I guess as a starting point, this episode is about the masculine side of the feminine and masculine, and how we can apply that to business, how we can take this frame of reference and hold it up against how we do our business. And to me, one of the main ways that masculine energy plays a role in business is in having a foundation, having a structure in place, which allows creativity to flow, creativity and energy to flow. And I think we often can have this kind of black and white idea of how things work. Like, either I'm too structured, I've got too many processes, or I'm too in the flow, I'm too creative, I can't be contained. And what I want to offer, and what I've been feeling into, is that the balance of the two is actually where the magic is. If I have structure in my business and process and foundation, then I have so much more freedom for creativity and for my energy to play a role and to be supported. And that's, to me, also what masculine is. It's the support and the structure and the holding of the space. And I just love this. I feel like if we create these things for ourselves, we're able to then rest into it, and the rest can flow. Now, I am going to give you some very practical examples that I think are really helpful. And so I feel like if there's a structure, if there's a focus point, then it releases some of the mental load, because there are things that are already in place and I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to think about those things anymore. I can just be with the space in between and just, focus on the thing, or be creative in my whatever it is I'm working on. Let's get to the examples, because I feel like I'm talking around in circles. Before I get to the examples, though, I do want to mention an offer that I have at the moment for the business owner or anyone in business or work who is feeling like they just can't make progress. They have all these things. You have all these things that you need to do. And sometimes you don't know where to start. Sometimes you don't know what to prioritize. You have an endless to-do list. You probably have multiple projects on the go at once. It feels like you have competing priorities, and you end up feeling like you're spinning your wheels and not moving forward as much as you would like to. And so I would like to offer you the opportunity to enter into a really small group coaching space with me, where I'm offering accountability coaching, which is just a really simple container where we come together once every 2 weeks. And I'm thinking, and this is very new, but I think that there'll only be maybe 3 people per group. And we come together purely to talk about what you've got on your plate right now. What are you working on right now that's important to you? Can we help you focus on the top 2 or 3 tasks that you need to get done for the next 2 weeks? And then it's a matter of holding accountability. And it's a container that you can come into to feel like you're being seen and held in your work, to keep you moving forward on that path. I have been on both sides of this relationship. I've been both the client in this situation and the coach for accountability clients, and it's so powerful. It is so simple, but I feel like this is something that so many business owners can benefit from, because you don't necessarily have a boss. And if you come from a corporate background where you're used to having a boss, when you're running your own business, you're very much accountable to yourself and your customers, and maybe if you've got team. But it's easy to get distracted. And so I've helped clients that have multiple projects on the go, just need someone to almost just someone to be in their corner and to coach them through prioritizing and focusing. That's what's really powerful about this. And I'm also on the client side of this at the moment. I'm in an accountability group that meets every 2 weeks, and I show up 9 times out of 10. And it's just a really strong way for me to keep myself accountable to be visible, like to be being seen, to be making progress, and to be being held in that way by people who are just like me, and I get to support them as well. So if this sounds like it might be supportive for you, if you just need someone to help you stay focused, stay organized, stay on track towards your goals, then you can go to my website, nadiguy.co/accountability. I'll put the link in the show notes, obviously, but I wanted to give it to you in case you're driving or walking or something and you can't click through right now. So I wanted to mention it in this episode because it feels like a masculine container. It feels like a structure that is going to support you to continue to move forward. Because, as I was saying, you make that decision about the actions that you're going to be taking, the time frame that you're giving yourself, and then that decision is made and you get to just focus on those things. You don't have to keep wondering what you should be working on when you sit down to work, or questioning what you're doing, because you've already decided that. Not only have you already decided that, but you've told other people who are here to hold you accountable as well. So let's talk about some examples of the masculine in business. And I've talked about this a lot already, but structure is a really big one. So I think it's really supportive to have structures in place to help you. One of those structures might be planning, is an example of that. If you have been on a call with me, or maybe even it's in some of my videos, I've got on my wall, I have a calendar for the next 3 months, and it's an overview of my plan of how I'm spending my time in my business and in life, but mainly business. And I put it together following Steph Crowder's year on the wall process. I'll put a link to Steph's website in my show notes as well. But it's a structure that, again, creates that space for flow, because there's no question once you have the plan in place about what you should be focusing on. Another one that's very similar is deadlines. Feels like a very masculine element, giving yourself a deadline and a time frame for doing something within. So I gave myself a deadline for recording this podcast. Not only did I set myself a deadline of today, but when I was looking at my time for today and the things that I wanted to get done, I gave myself a time frame, and I said I wanted to get this recorded and published by 2 p.m. Now I am cutting it fine because it's now 1:35. But making that decision and setting that time frame in place allows me to stop wondering, stop, worrying about what I should be working on, and just focus on getting this done. Let everything else go for now. Another masculine kind of element to business is logic. And logic shows up in a lot of places. For me, as a conversion-focused copywriter, one of the steps in my process is research. To research what customers are saying, what they want, what their desires are, and really getting to understand what's going on inside of a customer's mind and heart in order to write copy that is more effective and more potent and more relevant to customers. And then we go ahead and use that copy on the page or in the email or in the ad or wherever it is. It's this logical kind of, well, if they are saying this, then we relate to them in this way. It's kind of resting into that natural logic of 1 + 1 = 2. It feels very masculine to me. Now, one thing I want to say about logic is that sometimes we can lean too hard, I think, into logic. I think there's an art to knowing when to rely on logic and when to listen to those quiet inner knowings or the wisdom that you have that are not necessarily logical. Because as we know, there are many incredible things that happen in life that just don't seem logical. So I think logic can be very powerful, but also we need to use it with our eyes open and our hearts open and be open to other possibilities. Now, I did mention this briefly just before, but also process is quite a masculine approach. So I have a process for my podcast. I have kind of two processes. The process I followed for this particular episode is a typical one where I think about my topic and then I kind of brainstorm all the things that I want to talk about, and I make some rough notes and a rough outline so that I don't have to make it up on the fly, and I have like key things I want to tell you. I mean, I'm like, you can probably tell I'm talking through dot points. These examples I'm giving you of masculine in business are dot points that I created before I started pressing record. But you can probably also tell that I'm not following a script. The words I'm saying are flowing naturally. So it's like this beautiful balance of the structure, because I've got my dot points and I kind of know roughly what I'm talking about, but then I allow the rest of it to flow. I allow the structure to hold me and the content, and then I allow it to flow through. So I think that's a really beautiful example. And you might think of something in your business where you have a process and you balance that process with flow, and the process allows you to flow. Expansion is another one that is a masculine kind of energy. So maybe that's expansion of your body of content, the content that you're creating. It's like you're planting seeds. When you're creating content and putting it out into the world, it's like planting seeds that continue to grow this garden of content that you have. And it's also, expansion might be applied to your audience, like expanding your audience and your reach. Another one is thoughts and thinking. So thoughts and thinking and kind of living in our heads is a very common thing in our world. We typically now are taught to think and to analyze and to strategize and to use our minds, which are incredibly powerful and such an asset, especially in business. And that's a very masculine thing, to use our minds and create strategy and analysis. And finally, the final point is action, is like the doing, the moving forward. And I think this is probably potentially one of the most powerful examples of a masculine energy. Like, masculine is the doing, the moving forward, the go, go, go. And the feminine is just the being and the depth. And so as I was thinking about my own business and where I could be more in balance, because I feel as though I have a lot of these things. Like, my natural tendency is towards these masculine things, the structure, the process, the logic, the analysis. All of those things are very me. I'm a very heady person, which is why the embodiment coaching has been so nourishing for my system, to learn how to drop out of that and into my body and into being. But in saying that, even though I've got all of those supports, all those masculine supports in my business, I still feel like there's an imbalance. And I was thinking about what that is, and I realized it's the action. It's the actually like making the progress. It's the doing part. Because you can have the structure, you can have the process, but without the actual steps of doing, you're not going to get very far. So think about maybe how masculine doing is playing a role in your business. Are you doing more than anything else? Are you like leaning on the doing, do? Or are you a bit more like me and your business needs more doing from you? I think that's a really, really good one. I'm going to sit with that one and really ingest it, really embody it, because it feels like a big one for me. So that brings me to the end of my examples of the masculine in business, as far as what it represents to me in the context of what I've learned up to this point and how I'm applying it in my business. I hope that it's made sense. I'm really looking forward to exploring the feminine with you next week, and then talking about how we can balance the two in our business for like an ecosystem of balance and of doing and depth, and having both in our business, because I think it's just a recipe for an incredible way of working, a new way of working, and a way of being in the world that is just so nourishing on so many levels. So I hope this has been an interesting episode for you today. Don't forget about the accountability coaching. If that feels resonant to you, or if you're just a little bit curious, go check out my my sales page, which I incidentally am putting together. The sales page that you see, I haven't finished it yet as of the time of this recording. I will finish it before I publish the episode. But what you will see when you go there is going to be a pretty simple sales page, and that is deliberate because, again, going back to my point at the start of the episode, I don't want to let perfection get in my way of actually getting things out into the world and being of service. Because the longer I take to put something together or to perfect it, the more time people don't have to be in relationship with it or with me. So I'm very excited about putting out a sales page that is not a beautiful sales page on my website. It's going to be a Google Doc. And I'm really excited about it. So do let me know what you think about it as well. But you will see also there that that's an example of my copywriting at work. Go check it out if you're interested in accountability, coaching, having someone just hold you in a space of accountability, with love, but also with a little bit of sass. I'll keep you on track. And yeah, I can't wait to be with you in the next episode. And in the meantime, I hope you have a magical day.